country has a great diversity of nature and wildlife. Gorgeous mountains, the greenest rainforest you have ever seen, tropical islands, savannas full of wildlife species, and heaven-like white beaches. Might this be how paradise looks like? Besides this beautiful vast array of ecosystems and habitats that exist, the country also gives home to a fascinating culture, with a rich heritage of architecture, arts and music. This country is among the most corrupt and dangerous ones in the whole wide world. Hyperinflation, violence, drugs, starvation, murder. An estimated 18,000 people got killed here in the last year. Just walking on the streets is already dangerous. Families get ripped apart and people are fleeing the country in huge numbers. For most of them, returning to their previous homes is either impossible or a huge danger for their own lives. Economically, politically and socially, this country seems to be its own source for destruction. So, the pictures shown before were actually all made in the exact same country, Venezuela. Now take a couple of seconds and think for yourself. How did these short fragments influence your expectations and opinion of the place?
What you just saw already reveals the power media can have on people's opinions. How is this power used in the world and what's the connection with globalization? Let's first have a look at both concepts.
Nowadays, media can be found in multiple forms and it can be shared and used by multiple actors. Television, journals, blogs, social media, newspapers. All different forms of media that are created by different types of actors.
In contrast with the days before the internet, the availability and accessibility of media has increased tremendously. Media is no longer created by just a couple of institutions. Instead, nowadays everyone who has access to media is able to participate in its creation. Media can be seen as both a cause and effect of globalization. It has given rise to a more connected world, but at the same time it is because of globalization that there is an increased access to a broad range of media. But what is globalization exactly? Globalization is often described as a world becoming a global village. The role of media can be seen in all kinds of dimensions: cultural, social and political. This multidimensional view relates to the hyper-globalist view on globalization, like the academic writer Mansbach describes.
The cultural dimension encompasses the way countries perceive other countries, especially how we see so-called rich countries such as, for example, Germany, but also countries facing serious problems such as South Sudan, and rather disconnected countries such as, for example, North Korea. The social dimension is concerned with, for example, transnational migration flows, which is partly a result of media-induced and utopia-like perceptions. The political dimension is reflected by, for instance, developments in the Arab Spring, but as well the call for more human rights.
States such as Bhutan and North Korea censure to have control on the representation of the country.
Why not? Onwaarschijnlijk. Onwaarschijnlijk. I understand if it's a military installation, you're not allowed to film that in Belgium either. But just a normal field, a normal road, normal people, a normal village, you can't film. You take us to all the posh, nice places, and that we can film all over. But normal people, normal city, normal village, we cannot film. You have to understand us too, eh? Yeah, but you always go, you never answer. Yeah, put the music on.
In this example, we perceive how media is used as a constructing tool to shape a nation's culture for the outer world. Media is both consciously and unconsciously a tool to advertise some countries as a utopia.
Possibilities lead us to endless possibilities. This is where old school, new school, and what no school can teach come together. Here, every day is a new canvas. The old school cool. This is where rhymes, chimes, and the daily grime meet. This is where who you were will not be who you will become. This is where all that you're passionate about, all that drives you, is made possible. This is where passion possible.
By stressing a country's richness, freedom and opportunities, it is directing refugee flows and stimulating transnational migration and tourism. Media can have a tremendous influence on politics and law. It is a way to raise your voice, spread your views and call for action. And it has, for example, improved women's rights and has brought rights in several countries under discussion.
Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
Media can also have a huge impact on people's privacy, and the recent threats of fake news can bring collateral damage to the world.
Ring runs out of Clinton-linked pizzeria. Pizzagate, as it has become known, is a conspiracy theory based on hacked emails from Hillary Clinton's campaign manager John Podesta, which were released by WikiLeaks. According to a theory that was initially shared on Reddit, Comet Ping Pong Pizzeria in Washington, D.C. is the center of a child abuse operation. This all stemmed from the fact that the owner of the pizzeria, James Elefantis, used to date David Brock, who is a former journalist and strong Clinton supporter. When a number of Reddit and 4chan users tracked down Elefantis' Instagram page, they found a number of bizarre images. However, many of the images were misidentified, such as a supposed kill room beneath the restaurant, which it turned out doesn't even have a basement. Some images were just taken randomly from the web and presented as further evidence by theorists. Police have labelled the story fictitious, but this didn't stop one man heading to Washington to investigate. He was arrested after firing 3 shots from his rifle inside Comet Ping Pong Pizzeria.
Media, and especially the high accessibility and rapidity of it, can both be useful and detrimental to politics and people's lives. Thus, there is one thing we can conclude. The relationship between globalization is evident and it's both straightforward and complex. So why is it straightforward? Media and globalization are inseparably linked, as they form a vicious circle. The development of communication technologies and thus media are an important cause of globalization, and simultaneously, media has a great deal of consequences for globalization. So why is it complex? Because a huge diversity of media forms are used by a huge diversity of actors. Consequences of media can be perceived all over the world and in all kinds of different dimensions of globalization. On top of that, media are never neutral. To illustrate, even though we intended to make this informational video as objective as possible, it is in no way objective. Every single frame in this video is selected and displayed in a certain way to prove our message. The way media is embedded in our daily lives and the way it influences our perspectives is something we need to be aware of. It obliges us to question ourselves, how does media influence our life?